Do you wish that your kids were better behaved, that they were more obedient, that they were more respectful, that they actually had motivation and drive and they wanted to succeed? I'm sure all of us want that for our kids. And, but we sometimes think that is just going to come by accident. We don't always take responsibility that our actions and the way that we show up in life is the example that our kids will follow. And this could be for grandparents, aunts and uncles, anyone that has contact with young people or youth. We get to be their example. It's a huge honor and it's also a huge responsibility. So today we are going to discover why our actions speak louder than our words and how demonstrating integrity, empathy, and resilience can lay a foundation for your child's success and happiness. Do you feel that your kids are growing up so fast and you don't have time to be the parent you dreamed of being? Are you sick of the heartache you feel every time you have to leave them to go earn a living? Does debt and money stress keep you from being totally present with your family? Welcome to Daily Paid Blessings, the Parenting with a Passive Income podcast. We are Melanie and Lou Borbo, small town parents with a now empty nest, and we realized too late how fast our kids grew up and how little time we actually had with them. On this podcast, we are going to show you how to buy back your time with passive daily pay so that you can strengthen the family foundation and help your kids and your grandkids become powerful change agents. If you are ready to ditch the 9-to-5 grind, make more memories, and parent with a purpose, grab your picnic lunch and a blanket and let's dig in. Oh, and by the way, if you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with other parents who also want to know how to parent on purpose. Hey friend, do you have a desire to see your child or children reach their full potential, be all that they were created to be? Step into that leadership role, step into that community service role. But either time or money has always been an obstacle for you. Either you have to work all day, every day, and you don't have time to devote to the kids, or your money is super tight and tied up in a million directions and you don't have anything extra to help the kids in that direction either. If that's the case for you, then you will be super, super blessed by a 2-hour workday where you can make passive daily pay. So that means in 2 hours, you can start to make money, and therefore the rest of the hours in the day, you can pour into your family, you can pour into your marriage, you can pour into your community, your church, wherever it is that you would want to pour into, and really start to make that impact. So can you imagine how that would feel? Right? Just think about how that would feel. And when you're ready, there is in the show notes, there is a link that will take you to the proven blueprint that people are using. There's 27,000 people in our community that are seeing success with this blueprint. And so it works. It is proven over and over again. And you can find that description in the show notes. And also right now, as we speak, this is, as at the time of the recording, there's about to be on July 9th, which is next week, there's going to be a 90-day sprint. So this is a training every single day for 90 days to help you get 30K in 90 days. So if this is something that you are excited about, then I wouldn't wait. I would jump in and get yourself situated, get things set up so that you're ready to run on the 9th of July. If you're listening to this after the 9th, you can jump in at any time, and those videos are all there. You could just, catch up. So check out the notes or the link in the show notes, and I will see you inside of that community. All right. God bless. Hey friend, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about a really important topic because, I've just been thinking a lot about this because pretty much my whole life, I've worked with kids and youth and even now I still work with a lot of youth in a lot of different ways. And it breaks my heart actually to see some of these kids, the way that they have to be in the world is because of the way that they have been raised and the way that they don't see that there's another option for them, some of these kids. And it truly breaks my heart because I believe that we don't have to be confined to our upbringing or our circumstances. But a lot of these kids don't know that. And that is what is on my heart for this podcast is that if I can help you as the parents who are probably listening to this podcast understand the power that you have over the example that you set for your kids, then to me, I feel like we can just make big changes. Now, I love there is a scripture that says, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he was old, he will not depart from it. And that is in Proverbs. And I really believe that the Bible is the greatest success book ever written. Because guess what? The Bible is filled with all kinds of tips and things to help us with relationships, with money, with health, with all kinds of things. And so when I think about this, training up a child in the way that he should go, it really touches my heart. Honey, how do you feel about that? Training up a child in the way that he should go.
Well, I think it's important to teach them proper values in life so that they don't stumble as much as a lot of kids do today who don't have parents.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. And today we're going to talk about some of the ways that we as parents can make a bigger influence on our kids and to impact them in a positive way. And some of these things, now there's lots of ways, but we're going to kind of touch on a few today, and then we'll come back and revisit this at another time. So we're going to talk about, the first one we're going to talk about is integrity. When we model integrity to our kids, this is what we can then expect from them. But what exactly is integrity? What is integrity, honey?
Well, it's being accountable to things that you are doing in your own lifestyle that you would do in public, the same as you would do in private, right? And you want to be.
Yeah, it's I get what you're saying. It's like what we do in private is more important in a lot of cases than what we do in public. Because not more important. I shouldn't say more important, but it starts from the way that we show up in the world for people to see us starts behind closed doors, in my opinion. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with
that.
that.
So we can't say, people do this. They show up and they act as if that they do something so good and so holy and so whatever, but then that can only carry so far if they're not putting in the time behind closed doors, right? Like if they're not being true to what they're talking about in their own personal life, that is eventually going to show up, because we know that the truth always becomes clear. The truth is always made known.
That's where character comes into play, right? If your character is upstanding, it doesn't matter where you are, you will have the same response or the same results every time.
Amen. Right? I totally agree with that. So if we're saying one thing to our kids, we're telling our kids, okay, you need to be respectful, but then we turn around and we're at a restaurant and we're hungry and the food is taking forever to come, and we are all of a sudden now, bad mouthing the waitress, or we're, having snide comments to her. Is that being integrity? Is that being filled with integrity?
No, it's not showing grace. It's not showing patience. Like the checker in the checkout line who's just learning how to get the job done, and it's taking longer than you want it to take. And
so by when our kids watch that, right, we're saying you have to respect your teachers, you have to respect your friends, you be nice to your brother, you be nice to your sister. When we're saying that stuff, but yet they see us freak out at that waitress or that checker at the grocery store, what does that show them?
They got two standards.
Mm-hmm. And it's showing them that I can say what I want, but I can do what I want too, right? I believe that 100%. There's my daughter came home from school one day, and I think she was in about grade 10, 8, 9, 10, something like that. And she came home and she said that she had done pretty poorly on an exam. And I guess her friend said, "Oh, what are you going to tell your mom? Your mom is going to be so mad at you." And my daughter said, "No, she won't. My mom's going to ask me if I did my best. And if I did my best, she's going to be fine with that. And so my daughter relayed that story to me. And it just brought me to tears because I thought that's true. That's exactly what I'm going to say to her. Well, did you do the best you could have? Like, did you study the best you could have? Did you get a good night's sleep the night before? And so that to me, she knew she wasn't at all stressed like the other girl was. The other girl was super stressed because she'd done bad on the exam too. And she was really stressed to tell her parents because she said, my parents are going to be so mad. And I just felt really, it just warmed my heart to know that my daughter didn't know, or she knew that my love for her was not conditional on what she got on that test, right?
You know where she stood with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even still to this day, my kids will be like, well, mom's not going to do that. Mom's never going to do that. Right? If it's something that is kind of, because my kids know where I stand. They know what I'm going to do. And so therefore they're really confident when they say, well, like mom's not going to say that, or mom's not going to do that.
They know your boundaries.
That's right. And so that's being filled with integrity, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one that I think we have to focus on is resiliency. What is resiliency? Do you know what that means, honey? I know that's
a big word for me.
Well, you know what resiliency is? I just did a podcast on this. This is why I know this, because I just did a podcast on this on my other podcast, which is for depression and women.
Think about that one.
But that word resiliency to me means the ability to bounce back after a heartache or a heartbreak or a setback of some description.
That's how I understand it.
So what does that look like? How do we model that for our kids?
Wow. I'm not prepared to. That's why I asked earlier.
He wanted me to ask him all the questions, and I'm like, I don't know the questions. I just have to let them come out. So anyway, okay, that's fine. But to me, when I think about resiliency and how to show up for our kids in that way, it's like, so if something bad happens to us, and we have had some bad things happen to us in the last couple of years, what do we do in front of our kids? Do we moan and complain and freak out and blame everybody for everything? Or do we just take responsibility for what we did, or what we, the mistake that we may have made? Do we just take responsibility for it and show them another way? So instead of, playing the blame game or freaking out or falling into a hole and crying yourself for days and days, it's like, okay, that didn't work out. That investment fell through. We've got to we've got to find a solution. We've got to figure out what we're going to do now. Right. And I think that modeling that to our kids is really important, especially in the world that we live in today. There's lots of setbacks. There's lots of heartache.
It's a tough world. It
is. And so when we can show our kids that even though something bad happens to us, we're going to get up, we're going to find a solution, that I think that's really a powerful thing for kids to know.
Yes. They need to see that we are stable regardless what situations we face. They see that we're going to be able to get through these times regardless. Yes.
And it gives them confidence to say, okay, my parent, my grandparent, my aunt, my uncle, whatever, they went through this hard thing. They had that major health challenge, and they got up and they went and did, carried on with life. I think that gives them inspiration. It gives them hope. Hey?
It gives them hope.
Gives them hope. Absolutely. So we can show up and even when we're down, we can still go, okay, let's move forward. Right. And by doing that, now we can say to our kids when something bad happens to them, and with little kids, it's usually something like someone stole my toy, or my friend doesn't want to talk to me, or even teenagers can be a lot like that. My friend didn't open my text, or I guess it's not even text, it's Snapchat now, I think. I don't even know.
Adults can be that way too.
Absolutely, they can. And I believe that if we train our kids to be resilient from a young age, they bounce back quicker as they get older. Like there was this story, I was at a business conference one time, and this lady was talking about her kids, and she was saying that, she just washed, there was a glass door, patio door that went from two rooms in her home. Right. And she just washed the window. It was all perfectly clear, super shiny, until her little toddler came whipping through the living room and ran smack dab into the window. Face first hit the window, fell down, crying. Everything's so bad. And she just said, come on, jump up. You're fine. She didn't react. And so he was like, oh, yeah, I guess I'm okay. Right?
Don't react, respond appropriately.
Right. And I think that's a part of being resilient, is teaching them how to be resilient. Yes. You listen to them, give them a hug. Okay, are you good? Everything good? Yep, everything's good. Right? It's just, you acknowledge the pain that they're in or the bad thing that happened, but then you help them to find the solution to move forward. Right. I think that's a cool one. And the other one that we were going to talk about today is empathy. Empathy is, caring for other people, right? Showing them compassion, kindness, grace, like in amongst their pain or their hurt. It's showing them that we are there for them, that we understand them. And, I think so many people are missing they want to have that empathy, restored in their life. They want to not only feel that way for other people, but have other people feel that for them. Sometimes we know that as this world gets crazier, that hearts will grow cold. Yeah. And that to me is something that I think we see often. Do you think?
Absolutely.
Kids are mean to each other. Parents are mean to each other. Everybody's mean, and they don't listen to each other. They don't care about each other in a lot of cases.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. Like I had the opportunity to work in a prison for 6 years, and I came across all kinds of individuals who at times didn't deserve to have empathy, but I showed grace, and many times after a while I received it back by these guys, and I got their respect, and I had guys who were wanting to work for me and help me out when I needed it.
Absolutely.
Even in a prison situation.
Absolutely. That's a cool story, because again, who's to say how these people were raised, right? Yeah. Like they may have had a broken home or may have had an abusive parent, or we don't know, but now they're in your care in the prison.
Yeah, they just needed a chance.
Right.
To prove themselves, or someone who cared about them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was rewarded by having someone who treated me with respect.
Absolutely.
After a short time.
Because you said even that, that they would kind of police each other about the swearing and stuff. Yeah. Like they would just be like, hey, don't swear like that, when they knew that you didn't appreciate that.
Correct.
And that to me is an amazing quality, right? Like these young men who were so broken and in bad ways, like that's why they're in the penitentiary in the first place, have been turned around just by a little bit of caring and a little bit of compassion from somebody.
Right.
So that's what I mean. We have a huge responsibility, but it's a huge honor to be able to show good character skills and good character development to anyone that we come in contact with, whether it's a kid or a youth or an adult or a senior, right? We have the ability to be able to make a difference in so many people's lives.
Yeah.
And that's what and I'm assuming you're listening to this podcast because that's what you want for your kids, right? You want your kids to be the one that is going to help someone on the street, that is going to listen to the person who's crying their eyes out at the supermarket, whatever. We want to do the best that we can to raise our kids up so that they can be those champions, those leaders who are making a difference in the world.
That's right.
Because there's so many people that are not. Oh, they're making a difference, but it's not a very positive difference. Yeah. And I think it's important that, because if we train our kids or the people that the young ones that we have contact with, if we help them, they're going to turn around and do what to their kids?
They're going to return the favor.
That's right. They're going to train their kids up in the same way.
Yes.
So the more of this, creating champions, raising champions that we can do, the more we're going to impact our world, I think.
Yes, that would be great to see.
Absolutely. I am so there. I want to just touch on something Lou had said earlier about, being in private, like the character development that we need to develop. And one of the things that popped out for me is when we, there's something called sharpening the saw, which means that we have to continually be learning and growing within ourselves in order to be able to help someone else in that situation, right? Mm-hmm. So just because we've finished high school or finished whatever, that doesn't mean that our learning is done, right?
We'll be learning for eternity.
Yes, we will be learning for eternity. And I think, so that's something that is really key, is if our kids can see us reading good books, watching good programs, listening to good things, I think that is another way that our kids are going, oh, hey, my parents treat me like this, and they read these kinds of books, or they watch those kinds of programs, or they listen to this kind of podcast, right? And again, it'll just give our kids more tools if they see us doing more growth, more things to grow our and build our own character.
Proper modeling for them and for people around us, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one thing that I wanted to point out too is that we need to invest time in our kids time into ourselves for growing and learning, and also time into our kids so that we can raise them up to be champions. And so, again, Lou and I are all about, time and how to get more time in a day. And so again, if you want to learn how to have an income that can come to you in 2 hours of work a day, and not be tied to the 9 to 5 so that you have more time to do this stuff, then come on over to dailypaidblessings.com and you can find a blueprint there that can truly show you how to do exactly that. So I pray this blesses you, friends, and we will talk to you again next week. God bless.
God bless.
Have you been blessed by this episode? Has it touched you or inspired you or taught you something? If so, would you take 30 seconds, and write a written review? Not only does it warm our heart to hear from you, but it also lets us know that we're giving you what you need. And it also helps other people find the podcast that may need this kind of information as well. And remember, beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. Take care, my friend, and God bless.